Okay, hi everyone, welcome back, and in this update we are going to check out AVAX's price chart, and unfortunately what we talked about in the previous video seems to be playing out rather nicely. So, are you ready? Let's dive in and see what is going on. And if you remember, in the previous videos we talked about different possibilities that we are allowed to consider in here, and if you really want to be optimistic in AVAX and you want to call this right in here, and also this one the low of our corrections down, then okay, assuming that you are able to ignore all the problems with this structure being a 5-wave from here to about this point, I guess you can argue maybe we are having a 1-2 setup. This can be one correction for wave 2, and what's next? A strong move up into wave 3 for 5, which on a higher degree it's going to be into a wave 3 correction for 4, another move into wave 5. From my POV, this can be a possible scenario, but definitely not my primary case. Why? Because we talked about this subject specifically in the previous update. It all comes down to this initial phase off of this point about $20.50, because as you can see, we are clearly having overlapping of the waves between our supposedly wave 2 and 4. If you want to say that, for example, this is some sort of a 5-wave. And since we are having overlapping of the waves, then okay, this means this is either an expanding leading diagonal or maybe a leading diagonal in form of a wedge structure. However, here is the problem. When you measure every single wave in here, you realize that none of those scenarios are allowed to be in play in here. That leaves us, in my view, at least according to our primary case, to one and only one scenario, suggesting this whole move is a correction structure in Avalanche, and after it's over, or maybe it's over already, we're gonna get a move down in order to take this important slow down here for the first target about $20.50. And here is the key point. I don't really believe that after that we are going to go a whole lot lower. Why? Because overall, in my view, either this is going to be an A, B, C zigzag, or maybe a W, X, Y. And nonetheless, because this is such a deep pullback up, it means that there is at the moment overall some sort of a balance between bears and bulls going on. Meaning what? If we are going to get a move down, our move down is not going to be that strong, and for that matter that deep. And sure, maybe we are going to take this low, but maybe we're going to go just a bit lower, and then bulls are going to take charge and hopefully start the next major phase of the bull run in Avalanche. So as you can see, in the midterm, I am actually very much optimistic, but the structures in the short term, in my view, can be up for debate. Now, having said all that, let's go on 15-minute time frame and see what is happening. And I think we can all agree that probably we are having in this phase, a 1 correction for wave 2 to about this point, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down into wave 3, ABC for 4, another move down into wave 5. And I'm thinking this is probably, where is it? Maybe from here an A, B, C flat. So on a higher degree, maybe we're having a 1, 2 decent move down into wave 3, and the current move might be a correction structure into wave 4, meaning what's next? Yep, you guessed that right, another move down into wave 5. And right now you might say, well, okay, look, we are having overlapping of the waves between our wave 2 and 4. However, here's the situation. I think this isn't necessarily that big of an overlapping of the waves. So what's it that I'm trying to say? I'm trying to tell you this is still able to fall into the category of having an impulsive structure and not some sort of a diagonal. Now, question, what do we want to see in short term in order to talk about discount with a bit more confidence? Well, that comes down to what is going on in a very, very short term, starting from the highs. I'm thinking maybe this is 1, this is wave 2, and if we are truly bearish in the short term, you want to see a strong move down. Seems like that we are, at least for now, right on track for that, into wave 3 and 4 and 5 in order to complete the subwaves for this larger degree wave 5 right in here. And this is the key, pay attention, especially in that phase. I need you to have your eyes on this important slow down here about $22.2. Why? Because if we do get a continuation of the move down in an impulsive manner, and in it we take the lows down here, at that point finding a complete 5-wave in this area is going to be extremely challenging, to a degree that at that point is not going to be simply anybody's primary case. I'm not talking about me. I don't really have this thing as my primary scenario already, but at that point, nobody is going to consider this as their primary case, indicating what? This whole move is a correction, and it is sort of kind of confirmed that we are probably headed lower in Avalanche in the short term. Is it going to be such a bad sign? I don't really think so. In fact, in my view, assuming that in here we identify all the right structures, okay, around the lows can actually be a decent long opportunity. Why? Because if we are looking, and this is truly a bullish count on a higher degree, then okay, I think it's safe to consider the possibility of having a wave 1 to about this point, correction for wave 2, and what's next if this count is happening? You know the answer, a strong move up into wave 3 and 4 and 5. And since you are going to enter a long position right around the end of our supposedly wave 2, okay, your risk to reward ratios are going to make perfect sense. For example, let's say you want to buy Avalanche around the $20 area. Question, what is your stop loss? Well, if you are a short-term trader and you want to count on this thing playing out, then okay, your stop naturally is going to be under the lows down here, about $15.50. Why? Because if we get a continuation of the move down and take the lows, at that point, this whole count is absolutely going to be invalidated. So essentially, you are having a $5 stop. On the other hand, question for you, what's going to be your target? Well, if this is happening, then okay, I think a very likely target for our wave 3 can be somewhere around the $35 region. So that means you're having a $5 stop, but on the other hand, about a $15 target, meaning your risk to reward ratio is what? Yep, about 1 to 3, which is really, really good. And if you do these trades long enough, trust me, overall on the margin, you are going to end up making quite a good bit of money. I don't really care what is going to happen in this specific trades. No, I really care about what is going to happen in the next, let's say, 1 to 200 trades that are going to be like this and I'm gonna take, okay? This trade may very well end up hitting my stop loss, but again, I care about the odds, and they do suggest if I make these trades long enough, I'm gonna be successful overall. So in AVAX, I don't really believe there is like a whole lot to be worried about, but having said that, in the short term, count on this move down to continue a little bit, and especially have your eyes on this important low. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Avalanche's price chart. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.